Hi, my name is Glenn Yost. I'm running for the New York State Assembly here in the 62nd Assembly District, South Shore of Staten Island. And I wanted to just give you a little bit of my background. I'm a retired New York City police detective. I retired as a first grade detective, one of the youngest, I believe, in the history of the department. I started my career right here in Staten Island, the 120 precinct. I was then transferred to Brooklyn. I worked in uniform for a while, and then I was transferred into the narcotics division, where I served as an undercover operative for nearly 2 years. I was successful in purchasing narcotics from street dealers. Well, I made well over 500 buy and bust operations, successful operations with my team in that capacity. I was then transferred to a major case team, where I was then called a deep undercover, where my name was taken off the rolls of the department. I had an undercover apartment. I purchased large quantities of cocaine and heroin, guns, and I was successful with that in bringing those people, those drug cartels, to the criminal justice system, and where they served many, many years behind bars. I then was transferred back here to Staten Island. I became the 120 precinct's youth officer, and there, in that job, I was responsible for investigating youth crimes, investigating gang-related incidents, arresting juveniles when necessary, and also the other component was to have this youth council where young people get to work with and be around police officers and get to know what it's like to be a police officer, and there were youth programs involved in that. So when I started that youth program, I had 22 kids. By the time I was almost a year into it, I had 1,200 young people from the North Shore of Staten Island with us, with police officers, playing in sports, activities, taking these kids on trips, and letting them know that police officers cared about them a great deal. Some of them went on to become police officers, in fact. As a result of that, I was promoted to detective by Commissioner Brown, and then I was transferred to the 122 precinct detective squad here in Staten Island, where I investigated all major crimes throughout that precinct. And then I was transferred to the first deputy commissioner's office, where I was in charge of, worked on disciplinary matters for the police department. And about a year or so later, I was then transferred to the chief detective's office, where I served as the chief's confidential aide and assistant. It was in that capacity that I was promoted to detective second grade, and then soon thereafter, 4 or 5 years later, I was promoted to the prestigious rank of detective first grade. I also worked in Brownsville, East New York, in a robbery squad, and I was, able to there infiltrate a serious robbery gang that was plaguing the community for many, many years. As I was in the chief detective's office, I was then accepted to New York Law School, where I was then transferred a final time to the department's legal bureau, and those are the attorneys for the New York City Police Department. So it was there that I learned a great deal about the law, and it was there that I went to New York Law School at night. I graduated just around the time that I was retiring from the police department, and so when I came to Staten Island, I decided to study for the bar examination, but I also had the opportunity to become an educator. I was teaching at St. Joseph by the Sea High School for a number of years, and at night I was teaching at St. John's University as an adjunct professor. I then was able to work with some lawyers here in Staten Island in an apprentice program, and I worked in the criminal field for a bit, and then I decided that I was better serving my community in the family court and as a matrimonial lawyer. That's what I do now. I also am an attorney and of counsel to Senator Andrew Lanza. And so there is where I was able to work with the senator on legislation which has affected this community in many, many positive ways throughout my 6 years of service with him. So in all, I think that what leads me to run for this particular position is that, I have that experience. I have the experience as a law enforcement official, highly decorated, retired first grade detective, served my complete 20 years. I went on to law school. I opened my own law firm. I worked for Senator Lanza. I know about the law. I know about how to bring lawsuits, and I know how to legislate the law. I think that I'm fairly well known in Albany, and I think that that's going to be a major impact for the voters this time and this year in this election on September 13th.